Let's talk about Steve Holt and fish parasites. Here we go. In this video, I'm going to tell you how to treat internal and external parasites. Now, about a week and a half ago, I was noticing that in my African cichlid tank, my insignitab named Steve Holt was acting a little bit different than usual. When I feed them, he usually goes after the food vigorously, and he wasn't doing that. He was still eating a little bit, but not really the same intensity that he usually had. I also noticed that he was a bit colored down. He had a slight sunken belly, and he was also, when he was pooping, it was a bit of a white, stringy type of feces instead of the normal brownish color that they have. And those are all characteristics that there might be, or indicators that there might be an internal parasite in your fish. So I decided that it was time to go ahead and treat him as if it was, even though I wasn't 100% sure that that's what he had. Now, there are all kinds of medications that you can use for internal and external parasites. It's a bad day when you have to search your local pet stores for medication you need right now, and they're all out. So it's best to have them on hand before you need them. ICX is great for ick, those little white salt-like specks that uniformly cover your fish, but it can also be used to fight other external parasites. Paracleanse is great for treating external parasites before they turn into a nasty case. And General Cure is basically the same thing as Paracleanse. Both are better at removing external than internal parasites, since you're dosing the water, and they aren't really ingesting the medication. Now, ProsiPro is more for the serious cases that can't be cured with Paracleanse. This is when you need to pull out the big guns. Metroplex is metronidazole that can be used in the water column or by dosing in food. Now, Cchem's version is loaded with fillers instead of straight Metro, so I no longer use it. There are a lot more medications on the market that you can choose from too, and these are just some of the ones that I have on hand for parasites. There are other medications for bacterial and fungal infections, but that's not the focus of this video. If only one of your fish has symptoms, then isolating them to a hospital tank is a preferred method of treatment. That way you can help prevent the other fish from catching it while also saving money, since you're using less medication on the smaller tank. I didn't move Steve Holt this time because I just chose to assume that if he really has a parasite, then it's possible the others did too. And since everyone was still eating, I figured I'd just get everyone some meds as a precaution. Oh, and one more thing. If dosing the water, make sure you remove any chemical filtration like charcoal or ChemiPure, as it'll just reduce the medication's effectiveness. Oh, and speaking of effectiveness, a like and subscribe from you would help YouTube realize this video is doing something good and push it out to other fish keepers like you. I'd appreciate it. If your fish has an external parasite, you can just treat the water because that's where the parasite's living. But if he has an internal parasite, then you want to get that medication inside your fish. So if they're eating, that's what you want to do. But if they're not eating, you have to treat the water. Now, since Steve Holt was eating, and by the way, bonus points if you can tell me what TV character Steve Holt is named from. Since he was eating, I was able to get some fish food inside of him. I didn't want to use the Metro and Focus, as I said, because it's combined with fillers, which I didn't want to do. Now, I did order some fish food from a couple different places. I have Ken's medicated metronidazole and garlic flakes, and I also have Ron Cichlid food that comes with the powder. It's just regular food, but then you mix this powder, that's what you're really paying for, to put inside the fish food and mix it up. Now, it tells you to use like the whole bag and mix it up and then freeze it, but I don't know why you would want to do that. I just divided it up into a smaller portion, used the math to figure out how much I needed of the medication with the fish food, and then I keep some of that in the freezer. I chose to start off with Ken's medicated fish food first, which contains Metro and garlic. And if you decide to make your own mix of medicated fish food with Chem Metro and Focus, make sure you add some garlic guard to make it more palatable for your fish, or they may not eat it. You're supposed to feed this twice a day for 6 days. Now, full transparency here, I was really busy with other things and forgot which day I started. But I'm pretty sure that it was the full 6 days. Best to keep a log for things like this. But shortly after treatment began, I noticed that Steve Holt's poop was no longer white and stringy, but its normal shape and color. Now, this doesn't confirm that Steve had a parasite and was cured. Be aware that fish can have white poops when they haven't eaten and there just isn't any waste for them to expel. But it was a good sign. So what causes your fish to get a parasite, and how do you prevent it in the first place? Well, a number of things can cause your fish to be more susceptible to parasites. And that can include having dirty aquarium water, additional stress in the fish tank, fish food that's infected with parasites, or bringing new fish into the tank that are already infected with parasites. To help prevent your fish from getting parasites or falling ill in any way, there are steps you can take that will make a huge difference. Keep up on your water change routine. If you need to do a water change every week, then do it every week. If you need to do one every 2 weeks, then do it every 2 weeks. Whatever your routine is that you need to follow up on, make sure you do it. Stress is a big factor in the health of your fish. Stressed out fish are more susceptible to illness, so do what you can to keep the stress down. That clean water will help, but also keep in mind the type of environment your fish prefer, and try to create it for them. Do they like very calm water? Then don't have a bunch of wave makers blowing them around all day.
Come on out, boy! It's windy!
Do you have peaceful fish living with aggressive fish?
Come out to play!
Well, that'll definitely stress them out. When feeding your fish, keep in mind that fresh food like worms and live fish can actually carry disease and parasites. So many fish keepers agree that the best types of food to feed your fish are dried foods like flakes and pellets, as well as frozen foods. Finally, when you get new fish, don't just add them directly to their permanent tank. First off, it'll stress them out to be placed with a bunch of other strange fish anyway, but more importantly, they could be infected with any number of diseases and parasites that could infect your other fish. So put them in a quarantine tank for 30 days. Keep them alone and make sure that nothing pops up that could infect your other fish. Now, I am too impatient for this, so forgive me for only doing a 2-week quarantine on my new fish. 30 days is just way too long for a kid like me to wait. I haven't had any disasters yet because of it, so fingers crossed. It's been a full 5 days since I treated the tank with the last dose of food, and I'm really noticing that there is quite a bit of difference in the way Steve Holt is acting and the way he looks. It seems to me he has a bit more of his bright colors, and his fins don't seem to be as clamped down as they were. He's definitely eating better. I don't think they were getting as much food with the flakes as they usually do with the pellets, so it may take a few more days for his belly to fill out. And you already saw that awesome brown poop I showed you, so that's good news. And here's Ferk the Second getting some camera time. Definitely not camera shy. Now, if it was a parasite, he could still have some eggs inside of him, and they aren't affected by the medication. For that reason, it's a good idea to retreat after 14 days. And that's how long it takes for the eggs to hatch. It's also a good idea to do a gravel vac to get any parasites that were expelled out of your tank. Be sure to let me know if you've had any parasitic infestations in your tank and how you treated them. Do you have some other medications that you've used that I didn't mention here? And do you have any tried and true methods of treating parasites that we could all benefit from? Let us know in the comments. Everyone appreciates the help. Hopefully this video answered some questions you had about internal and external parasites in your fish. And also stay tuned for my next video where I'll be talking about what and how I feed my fish. And then also I'll be testing out this new food called TDO Chroma Boost that's supposed to make your fish even more colorful. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time.